Hi, this is Lurking Lately. I'm going to start part 2 of the kind of absolute beginner's guide to CK2. Um, Last episode, we basically just talked about, the menu and all that kind of stuff. Just did a broad overview. Today, we're actually going to unpause and play the game, so that should be fun. Before we do, just a couple things we have to do. The first is we have to get. Well, let's do a royal a betrothal. Once your characters are of age, you can have them marry. Until that time, you can kind of set them up for a future marriage that's called a betrothal. And what we want to do is we want to go to our king, who's currently a child as well. He's about to come of age. And we want to offer a betrothal of our daughter, okay? And we'll just give him our oldest daughter here. And he's going to accept. I don't know why it says Tsar instead of King. That must be some kind of bug. But he's going to accept because, we're a duke, so he's marrying the relative of a duke, and he's only a king. So it's not really going to lose him that much prestige. More importantly, he wants to have a betrothal / marriage with our daughter because we're a powerful vassal. We own all this land up here, or rather we control all this land up here. We also have all these troops because of the spawned event, so we're kind of a threat for him. So he's going to say yes, and if you ever want to know why they're going to say yes, then it'll be over here. And then we just hit send, and he's going to consider the offer, and he's probably going to say yes. Now, the reason why we want to get married, we want our daughter to marry him, they're obvious, but the first thing that happens is there's a non-aggression pact. What that means is that he can't really take an aggressive action against us. We can't really take an aggressive action against him. So it's really in both our interests, but it's particular in our interest in this scenario because we're currently invading England. Now, what if the French king was decided to say, what if I wanted to make England an ally? He could ally England, and then England could call, England could call him in and say, hey, come defend us. And then we would automatically have to stop fighting because we're loyal vassals to our overlord. So this is just to make sure that he doesn't end the conquest before it starts. So that's done. And now you're thinking, well, let's load up our ships and let's invade England. Nah, let's not do that. And my reasoning is this. We want to conserve as much manpower during this war as possible. And if we were to drop off our people into England right now, the English armies would come and attack us, and they'd probably prioritize us over the Norwegians who are invading. So we're going to stay out of the way. We're going to let the Norwegians invade, let them fight each other, let the Norwegians, lose some men from storming all these little counties here. And, then once that battle is settled, either because Norway loses or the King of Norway dies, that's an event that sometimes happens, then we'll come in and fight whoever's left. Now again, we're fighting not really like this guy, we're fighting for his title. So even if the title transfers to Norway and Norway wins, that just means we have to fight Norway. And I'm okay with that. So I'd rather do that. I'd rather have them fight each other first than get involved ourselves. So we're in a state of war, but we're just kind of gonna hang out in our lands and see what happens. Now you're gonna see our war score go down. And that's fine. As long as we don't get to negative 100, we're fine. Now, if it ever gets to a point where we're close to negative 100, well, then we'll ship off some men, start fighting some battles, and besieging some provinces. So we're just gonna hang out and wait and see what happens. And in fact, we're even gonna speed this up a little bit. All right. So he agreed to the betrothal, and now if we look here. And we look at pacts, you'll see that our liege, Philip Capet, the King of France, we have a non-aggression pact with him. We could even, now that we have a non-aggression pact, we can even offer him an alliance. I don't want to do that because what's going to happen is Philip's going to be in a lot of wars. He's a child. He doesn't have very good control of his country, and he's got a huge Holy Roman Empire that wants his land. There's all this stuff going on down here. So that brings us to the next thing we have to do, and that is now that we have that betrothal in place, he's not going to break it because he'd lose like some opinion and prestige and stuff. So we're going to talk to him, and we're going to resign as a commander. Now, why do we do that? The reason why we're going to resign as a commander is because, again, he's going to be fighting a bunch of wars. Now, I don't want my guy to suddenly be plucked away and fighting on some AI-led army and die during one of his wars, okay? I want to, if I'm going to die fighting for my own war going on right now. So, we resigned as a commander, okay? And I think that's all we gotta do now. We just gotta wait around for a little bit. Let's just check the council here. Oh, we'll leave it alone. Okay, so we'll leave it alone. Now, what's gonna happen is the king's gonna start, spamming us with offers to join his council, to become a commander, and we're just gonna politely decline all of them. Because we have our own kind of agenda going on right now. Alright, so our lords have passed our, ability to revoke titles. You'll see here it's now passed. If we wanted to move it up the next rank first, we would have to wait, because we do have the technology. We're going to have to wait another 5 years to do that. So we'll just keep an eye on that. We'll remember around October 1071 to see what else we want to push for law. Okay, so now you see the English, actually, they're going to decide to forget about England, and they're just going to come down and fight us. That's another scenario. I was hoping this wouldn't happen, but it did. Now, again, the advantage here is that he has a limited number of ships, so he can only drop each individual ship or galley. It can carry up to 1,000 men. So at the most that are coming over here are 4,200. We have 11,000, so that's one thing. He can't kind of create a giant doom stack, but we have one sitting on our shores. The second is when you come off of a galley, okay, you are at half morale, and we're going to be at full morale, so that's going to help us fight them off. So let's just assign ourselves to our own little army here. I can't see here where he's going, but I'm going to guess it's going to be, oh yeah, and now you see here you have the cross swords. This little lock symbol means he's movement locked, so we're going to take that fight, and see, now he's trying to flee because he's at half morale, he doesn't have that many men. But we're going to kind of just defeat this army here. And you'll see here, here's our king offering us position of commander. No thanks. Oh, well, that's not good. So, I have become disfigured and severely injured during the battle. That's a risk you have when you fight. But that's not going to stop us. We're not dead yet. It does shorten our lifespan significantly. That's a real bummer. But it's not the end of the world. Not unless we die. If we die, we'll just restart. It's so early in the game. I mean, we just unpaused for a couple days. Alright, so now he wants me to give me a spy master position. No thanks. Again, having a position in our liege's court is good. It gives us prestige, and especially as like a spy master, we can do all sorts of funny stuff against them. But we're gonna leave him alone. This is like a beginner's game, and also, if we are in his council, he can arrest us, and like we'll be arrested immediately. There's no chance of us escaping. So, all right. So now we're gonna follow these guys here to Pontour, and now you'll see here, because I've got the major face injury, I've got a weird mask on. You'll see here that it's dropped my diplomacy by 4 and my attractiveness down. And we also have severely, this is what I'm more worried about, and it's the severely injured trait. I hope that this heals up and it doesn't like become infected and we die. Lowers our health by 2. Right now, if I could switch to focus, I'd switch to health and just give myself a little bit more to hunting, because hunting gives you a little bit more health. But too late for that now. We continue to fight. What I guess we can also do is try to seek treatment for our wounds. Is that possible? Let's take a look. No, I guess there is no seek treatment option. Let's just double check, make sure we've got. We do have a physician. I guess you can only do that if you have a sickness. That's really too bad. Alright, so we won that battle. Now we've captured our first prisoner, the Earl of Wessex. And he's fleeing to Boulogne, so let's follow his army there. Now you'll see here we have a second war pop up. That's because the Kaiser, he's fighting them for some reason. He wants Zealand over here. Again, we're going to avoid all of the Kaiser's army, if at all possible. We don't want to whittle down our troops. We want to continue on with our goals. And now you see here, this is under occupation. That's the King of Norway doing his invasion right now. So the English are going to lose this this war to the Norwegians, and then we're going to go ahead and mop up. Okay, so it looks like one of our children needs a childhood focus. This is Constance. Let's take a look at our family. So Constance, let's I don't know. Let's give her humility. It is the diplomacy-based focus, but I'm hoping she gets content, so she doesn't cause a lot of problems. So we'll teach her humility. One of our children lacks an education focus. This is Richard, I believe, our second son. And so we're gonna have to look at. Now the guides say you should hold off until like right before he comes of age. But I don't have it in me to remember to do this. I need like a pop-up, and if you don't like give him a focus and he comes of age, he's much worse off for it. So let's take a look at what he's good at. He's kind of spread out all across the way. So let's just give him a stewardship focus. Alright, so we've completely defeated that army. We're going to bring our men back to the capital. I'm going to resign as commander. I'm not sure if it affects your healing rate or infection rate, but I'm being superstitious and believing that's the case. And so again, we're just going to wait until this situation with Norway and England resolves itself, and then we'll get involved. Another thing is, if I do see like the Holy Roman Empire marching a huge stack over here, we're just going to load up and go, because I'm less concerned about the Holy Roman Empire invading and capturing provinces here than I am of them whittling down my event troops. Because the Holy Roman Empire's war goal, it's not to capture any of my personal land, it's to capture Zealand. And so that means that even if it's occupied, when peace comes, he's only going to get, you know, assuming he's victorious, he's only going to get Zealand. Alright, excellent. So, the wound has healed. That is huge, great news. Now, we're still disfigured. Not a good look, but we know, you know, we only have basically a -2 diplomacy and attraction opinion. We don't have to worry about lowered health and a greater risk of dying. So that's a very good thing. So, that's one piece of bright news here. Unlike in EU4, you can't just put in a war goal and then say, oh, and I want this extra stuff too. Whatever is declared for, that's what you get. You don't get to ask for extra stuff. Alright, so it looks like the Norwegians are doing their thing up here. Hopefully they're running through a lot of men, because we're going to be fighting them in a little bit. In fact, while we wait, let's just speed up time a little bit, just so it's not dead air. Okay. It looks like we've got a bunch of ships from England. I don't think they're going to drop men, but we never know. We'll know they're dropping off men because you'll see a little figure there. And so, yeah, they're not dropping off men. Alright, so it looks like our marshal has... I think our marshal has died. So now we have to think about a new marshal. So William would be our best martial skilled counselor. However, he would be a malcontent, and it's unfortunate too because he is a powerful vassal, and his opinion of us would improve significantly. By 40 points. So he'd be up to like a 0. But I don't want a malcontent on my council, and so this next guy down, he's only 2 less. So let's. Yeah, one of these 2 guys, they have equal skill. Let's just pick this guy because they're both probably going to be zealots. Now again, just because he has this score here of a malcontent, it doesn't mean necessarily he's going to be. It's just he's weighted to be a malcontent. You see here, if you hover over it, gives you kind of a breakdown. So I'm looking at these guys and seeing maybe hopefully one of them is a loyalist. Has a chance to become loyalist. This guy has a slightly better chance. But alright. So we're going to make him again train troops in our capital. And now the reason why we've got our spy master here scheming is I'm really hoping that when my son becomes an adult, we find him doing something bad. Because I want to try to find a just reason to imprison and lessen my first son's lifespan. But I need like a good legal reason for it. Alright, so this is a great event. So our second son, Richard, he had the trait Curious. Oh, no, it's Cynical. He had the great Curious. Now, it can turn into a Shrewd, which is the one we would have wanted. And that would have happened automatically if we chose this, but instead it's Cynical. So we're going to try to make him be Patient instead of Cynical. Patient's a much better trait. And let's see if we're successful. Alright, he's Patient. So not as good as Shrewd, but it is a good skill to have, and it's not Cynical. Cynical's not the worst, but it's not the best trait either. Alright, so it looks like Norway has won. You see here, England has turned from a nice pleasing orange to this gray. Also, if you look here, you'll see our enemy now is Harold Hadrad instead of Harold of England. So now you're thinking, okay, now we invade. And I'm going to say no. Again, we're not going to do that. Because I think that he is going to start landing troops onto my land to finish off this war. And again, he'll have the same penalties that the King of England had when he lands. So unless our war score starts dipping, we're going to wait here again and just do nothing. And it looks here like he's got a bunch of fleets that are kind of matching up here, so we're going to lower speed and wait to see if he starts dropping troops off. Alright, so he's starting to drop troops off, but I don't want to move my men because I want them to be movement locked. You see, you got that little lock came on. Now we're going to take our army, we're going to get to the head of it, and we're going to fight him again. Alright, so we won that battle, and we're going to just chase him down. And we got to be mindful of the Holy Roman Empire troops. We don't want to bump into them by mistake. But I think they're far away enough that we can risk hunting down this army. Alright, so we've taken out that Norwegian army. Our war scores jumped up because we killed off a bunch of his men. One thing we're going to keep an eye out is we're just going to like click on his face and see how many army levels he has left. And once that starts to get real low, then we'll load our men in and start invading England. But he's got still another 10,000 men. These are also kind of event troops like ours. So we're just going to come back to our lands And we're going to wait a little bit longer. And already he's starting to drop men off. So we're going to kind of walk our way out, kind of goad him in, and then come back around. Again, he's limited by the number of galleys he has, so the most he can drop off is 4,900. Now he can drop off like a full 11,000, but it's good. And we're gonna basically do a divide and conquer. We're not gonna go back in and attack these guys unless they flee into there. We're gonna take the smaller army out first. We'll let him get a little bit of attrition, and then we'll attack him in our capital. Alright, we captured a mayor. That's good. These guys are fleeing to Ponthieu. And they're fleeing to Boulogne. And you can see here the progress of the siege right here. So you have to start to get worried when this is like mostly red. But for now, we're okay. Looks like he's dropping off more troops. And again, I just want to finish these guys off. Alright. Now let's take care of these remaining guys here. Alright, let's take this fight to Eu. Now, each successive fight is going to be easier than the last, because their morale is going to be lower, their numbers are going to be reduced significantly. So, I think we've got this pretty much in hand. Once we stack wipe this group, we're going to come back to our lands, and we're probably going to set off and set sail. Alright, so it looks again like he's marching people off. Let's just wait a little bit, see where he's going to stop, wait till he's movement locked. And it looks like he's coming straight onto our capital. He's dropping off 7 men, that's no problem. Okay, so now that this war's kind of in hand, again, we can kind of look here, we're at 61 war score because of battles. And we look here, and he's down to being able to raise 934 men. Now, this doesn't mean that he's out for the game. Well, he doesn't have much wealth either, so I don't know if he can hire mercenaries. However, it's been my experience that the AI cheats, and even though he only has so many men, like a couple hundred men, and no money left, he's going to be able to somehow get more and more armies. So we have to kind of continue on to our war goal. And our war goal kind of involves capturing England. Now, if we were to force him to peace now, we would be the titular head of England, but all of this would kind of still be controlled by, it would all be kind of controlled by him, because the invasion CB is kind of complicated. Basically, with invasion, you get to keep whatever you control at the time peace is made. So, at the time peace is made in your favor. So what we're going to do is we're going to raise our vassal levies to give us another 1,000 men or so. We're going to raise these ships here, just so they get there a little bit faster. We'll march these guys up, we'll march these guys down. The reason why I didn't raise the vassals before is since this is an offensive war, the longer you keep troops raised, the less happy your vassals are, because you're wasting their men and you're wasting their money, that they pay for the upkeep of the men for your own personal gain. So I wanted to hold off on that as long as possible. But now that we're actually going to start doing stuff, things have changed. All right. So again, we're just gonna like kind of square box these guys by holding the left mouse button and doing that, and then we're gonna merge all the selected armies. We're gonna wait for these guys to come up, and then I'm gonna take these smaller boats here, and you can just kind of cycle through by clicking on them, and I'm going to draw them down. Now that's just me being nice to my vassals because I don't need these boats. But it'll save them a little bit money. I don't know if it actually makes their opinion improve. I don't think it does because we're still marching their men around. So we're just waiting for this last 125 men to join this army. Then we'll load them up on the boats, and we'll start our invasion. Again, this is our third son. He was also curious. I was hoping he would become shrewd. But again, let's hope that he becomes patient. Let's take a look, see if he's patient. Nice, he's patient. Excellent. Alright. So now we've got our troops all together. We're going to click this button to put them on the boats. And we're going to move our boats out to sea. I think a good starting point for invasion, we'll just drop them all off in... Well, let's drop them off all in Middlesex. And then we'll kind of split out smaller armies everywhere else. Now the problem with kind of these like overseas invasions is there's this new mechanic where you have to capture at least like a top level fort first. Otherwise your men start suffering from attrition. So I think what we're going to do here is, because they don't have a very large levy, because it appears that the Norwegians had attacked it and captured it, we're just going to wait till our morale gets to the top, and then we're just going to attempt an assault. Now, the reason we have to be careful with assaults on forts is, yes, it's fast, it speeds things along incredibly. And if there's not a lot of defenders in an area, that's great too, okay? It's much more likely you'll be successful. It also is based on the skill of your generals. We've only got really one good, like really good general, and that's William. These other guys are okay. So that's going to affect things. You also want to be at full morale when you attack, because your morale is going to plummet. So let's just kind of wait. And you see here he's dropping off men. I don't know how many, but we'll keep an eye on that. So right now I'm just waiting for my morale to come up. So this is only 26 men and 751. That's, you see here, he's got this little, like, I don't know what you call this, but this little symbol means he doesn't have enough men to besiege this province. So, I'm not, he's going to loot the province a little bit, but our garrison's going to hold regardless of the amount of time he sits here. So I'm just going to sit here and let him do his thing. He's not hurting anybody. If he were to move to another province where he is in risk of sieging it down, then I might consider hiring some mercenaries. But for now, I'm happy the way things are. So again, we're just going to wait for our morale to go up. And I think this is good enough. Let's do our assault. Alright, excellent. So we've taken this first province, and I'm looking at the second one down. They've only got 56 defenders. So we'll wait a day, and we'll capture that. I hate this event. So you can either lose 50 prestige, some opinion. I'm not really concerned about either of those. We do have a national levy size increase, but we have reduced morale, reduced prestige, and just a negative general opinion. Or, and then we can also have that same thing, but with an option of 10 gold, and that's not really worth it. Or we can try to stop them. But even if we're successful in stopping them, we lose 5% of all our troops. Now, our entire army is here, so 5% of 1,000 is quite a lot. If it was a smaller army, like maybe like 1,000 men, I'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. But we're going to lose a lot of men. We need those men to take all this land. So I'm going to let them have their fun. And I'm not worried about the mayor's opinion. It's going to destroy the port in London, but we're going to replace the mayor anyways, so we'll let them have their fun. I'm not happy about that. Alright, so again, there's only 79 men in this church here, So we'll wait a day, and we'll assault. And that's ours now. And now there's this final area here. There's not that many men here. We could probably assault it again. My concern is we're going to lose too many men assaulting all these areas. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start splitting up my army and spreading them out to kind of do, kind of as much of a carpet siege as we can. I didn't actually do the math. I know that we're going to lose a lot of men due to attrition. But here's the way I see it, okay? In this new Kingdom of England, I want to control the Duchy of Essex right here. And I want to control the Duchy of Norfolk up here. That'll give me a total of like 6 top-level county capitals. I believe that with a king rank and our current administrative skill, it'll be the perfect fit. If not, we can always give like Norfolk away or Suffolk away. So I want to capture all levels in each single province here. So I want to capture this final barony of Tottenham. I want to capture all of these lands and this, but only for this section here. That's because these I don't even know what you call them, but these cities, they will be filled with vassals who are going to be directly paying out to us and raising troops for us. Those are going to be direct vassals because we're going to control the top the county capital. So I want to have men of my culture who like me there. Now, in other areas of England, we could again, siege it all down and then replace them with our men. And then at the end of the war, we'll get to choose who gets to be, the leader of every single little building here everywhere. But I'm afraid that's going to take way too long. It's going to eat through a lot of men due to attrition. So we're just going to grab, for the lands that we have, we're going to take all the titles. And for all these other lands in England, we're just going to take the top level. What this means is that when peace is made because of this casus belli, that means we'll control the county, but the old guys, like this guy, he'll still be in charge of, the bishopric of Canterbury. This guy will still be in charge of the city of Sandwich. But we're going to put a Norman here from our court on the top, and it'll be on him to, culture convert, these lower guys or replace them as he sees fit. Now, if this was if we were invading a place with a different religion as well, I'd be more hesitant to do it, because you want the general leadership to be of the same religion and culture as you. So they're all Catholic here, so we're all the same religion. It's just a different culture. And also the reason why I'm not worried about it is that we're of the Norman culture right now. Okay. Once we install Norman rulers in England, as time goes on, there'll be an event where basically English culture is formed, by combining Norman rulers with Anglo-Saxon underlings. And then we're going to choose to convert to English culture, and all of these guys are going to slowly convert to English culture. And so we're all going to go through a major culture conversion anyways. So let's talk about splitting up our armies here. It looks like they're dropping off more men. Again, I don't know where he's getting these guys from. I believe they're cheating. I guess he could have taken a loan from Jewish moneylenders, but that's still only 300 men. So we'll monitor what's going on over here. But in the meantime, let's split up our armies. Just like in EU4, you kind of click the new unit button, and you can kind of choose your unit size, so to speak. Let's say we want about 1,000 men minimum everywhere. So we'll send that group of 1,000 men there. And this group of roughly 1,000 men here to Surrey. Okay, so we're kind of gotten to the point where, you know, it's going to be like these major event levies. So let's grab these, you know, 1,800 men. We'll send them to Essex. These 2,000 men will leave here. Now we'll move the 2,000 men to, I don't know, Oxford or Winchester. And these 2,500 will go to Oxford. And what's left here? We'll keep these last guys kind of together. We don't want to split our men too far apart because there is like a minimum amount of men you have to siege. So you know the garrison's 413, the levy's 520, so you gotta be like over that, you know, combined number, I believe. Let's look at it here. So yeah. So we'll look when we kind of drop our men off. Let's just double check where everyone's going. I'm going to take these guys who are going to Winchester. I'm going to make them go to Bedford instead. Alright, so now we're going to send our men out to start sieging. And again, we're going to kind of like take a quick lay of the land. And if it looks like there's not a lot of garrison there, you know, relative to our armies, we'll attack. But this other stuff, it all looks like it's pretty well garrisoned. So looking at our main army, we've got kind of these generals kind of in charge. Let's, this one's got a general. Let's throw just another commander out there. I'm also thinking that these guys are kind of the smallest levies, so I'm going to take some men, some of these smaller groups here, and I'll take, like, let's say, these 142 men, and we'll send them this way. And we're just going to take this last group of 124 men. Yeah, we'll take this last group of 124 men, we'll send them this way. So this is so our stacks are a little more even. As sieges go on, they're going to lose men due to attrition just naturally. It's kind of the same idea as EU4. There's going to be dice rolls and all that good stuff. So I have no idea what the Norwegian army is doing. It looks like they're marching back to Norway. That's fine with me, as long as you don't cause any problems in my homeland. So we're just going to speed things up a little bit and just kind of keep an eye out for any groups that do drop off and try to invade. Okay, so again, like I said, we just want all the the land here and then the top level elsewhere. So now that this top level's been occupied, we're ready to move on to the next one. Again, I'm moving my guys around because I'm not, they're up to 1,700 men, and I don't think they're, if they start dropping off men on England, I think I'll be able to have time to, bring my armies back together and defeat them. Alright, so we captured all of Middlesex. That's great. Now let's march over to Winchester and try to get that top level over there. Alright, so it looks like somehow these guys just came out of nowhere. The sieges haven't progressed very far here, so I'm just going to march them together here into Oxford, and we're going to attack them. We are going to be suffering a river crossing penalty, but I mean, is there a better way out here? Let's take a look. Now you can switch from siege view to kind of this view here, which will tell you where the river crossings are. So there's one between Oxford, Winchester, Surrey, and Kent. So if we were to march actually through Bedford, so we'll right click in here, then we'll hold down Shift and right click here, and these guys will march around through Bedford and avoid the river crossing penalty. It's always good to avoid penalties if you can do so. Alright, so now because I have the combat focus, sometimes you get events like this, and stuff like rough terrain expert's really great, but what I'm really hoping for is that we'll seek another area of expertise and get siege leader, because we're about to be doing a lot of sieges. Alright, so we'll chase them down into Winchester, and then we'll split them up after we wipe them off. Wipe them out, I should say. And we'll do that. So it looks like my liege, King Philip's, giving us position of commander again. No thank you. Alright, so the top level, Bedford fell. Let's move him out. I always forget about this little island here, but it's good that they're fleeing there. Again, he's got an army here, but they're too small to besiege anything, so we're fine. And now I'm kind of just like keeping an open view here just to see if he lands any armies, if he raises and manages to gather everybody that he needs, and just to make sure he's not got any huge armies here in my capital. Okay, so it looks like Surrey was captured, and I didn't notice it. And Kent was captured. So we're going to send this guy up this way to start sieging this area. And again, outside of... Oh, well, I wasn't thinking. Yeah, let's attend. I'm not too familiar with coronation events, but I don't think he'll cause us that many problems. So let's attend. And actually, I want Bedford because that's part of, you know, my land that I want. So I'm gonna march my guy up there instead. And again, so we captured Colchester, but we want all of this, so we'll leave the guys sieging there. Alright, so our king got crowned. Good for him. We got a little bit of piety and prestige just for being there. Oh, now that we're no longer on a journey, we'll put our men back in charge of armies. And we'll continue. So our wife wants to see us dead. That's not good. I don't know why she hates us so much. That's really rude. Well, let's imprison her. She can't plot from us if she's in prison. And we'll just leave her there, let her think about what she did. And this guy... I guess he wants to kill his brother. I don't particularly care. Do I? I don't really care. So, why don't we just tell him to end the plot? You don't have to imprison people if they're plotting. We'll just tell them to end the plot. Please don't kill your brother. Alright, so our second son, this is a great one. When you're the guardian of people, this one pops up like very often. We can tell him, you know, which he must learn on his own. He gets no special bonuses. We can give him the diligent trait, but we'll get the stress trait. Or we can have him become ambitious and we become bitter rivals. Now, it's not a good thing to have your own sons be your bitter rivals, but I do want him to be ambitious. So let's risk it. Okay, so it looks like he has enough men to start sieging down the area here. Alright, so let's take a look at our religion tab. Oh, we don't care. Tours isn't in our land, so we don't care if that became Waldensian. Whenever you see heretic religions pop up, you want to kind of deal with them as soon as possible. Alright, so again, Richard can either become dull or brave. Let's really hope he becomes brave and not dull. Excellent. So he's starting to get some nice traits here. You'll see here already. Hopefully this will turn into, diligent. But you see here, he's just a kid, but his stats are far better than his brothers. 7, 8, 10, 7, 5. Yeah, so, we're going to do something about that oldest son. Alright, let's try to make our daughter diligent. It doesn't hurt. Alright, once again, because we're sieging all this stuff and this event seemed to never end, we can lose our prestige. And a lot of people think it's dishonorable. We can get some gold and become cruel, or we can hang half our armies. We need to keep our men though. We have to keep our manpower up. We can't keep losing men. Alright, so Northampton fell. That's again within kind of the area that we want to control everything, so we'll leave our men there. Once Winchester falls... okay, so Hereford fell. Let's start marching them over this way. We'll march them into Winchester, we'll combine our armies, and we'll take out that Norwegian army again. Now he's movement locked into Surrey. I'm just going to take the penalty because we have just much more men than they do. He wants me to be spy master. No, thanks. This is only 25 men. So again, we've got our men here sieging the lands that we want. We'll leave them alone. We got nothing going on at home. So I'm going to kind of march these guys into Winchester just to take out these 25 guys. Then we'll split up our armies again. Now, as we start to lose our event troops to attrition, I didn't know he was betrothed to anybody. Well, that's another reason why I don't want him in charge. Okay, he's not. I mean, he's not the worst. He's not that great. We'll worry about him later. It looks like Agatha doesn't have an education focus. We'll just teach her humility. We have an unmarried heir. I guess we'll get a pop-up that they should be married soon. And we'll give these guys education focuses. I don't know why I didn't do that before. And William of Normandy, he'll go... he's already got the... Let's give him stewardship. He'd probably do better with Diplo. But just in case he's the guy I need to count on... let's make sure he has enough stewardship to kind of rule here. So, should I let this guy marry my niece? Should I let my half-brother marry my niece? My 40-year-old half-brother. Nah, I don't think a 40-year-old should be marrying a 12-year-old. Okay. So we've captured all of Essex. Let's move in. Let's just capture all this, Norfolk area. Alright, so you see here, he's gotten together enough guys to start besieging my capital. Which again, it's amazing how he's got 2,000 men all of a sudden. I mean, he is a larger kingdom. He is all of Norway, so that could be regrowth, but I find it highly questionable. So we're going to have to deal with this army here. Let's go to military. Let's go to mercenaries. And let's get like 2,000 men together. And we're just going to kind of look at who's got the best military kind of score here. So that guy's a 19. That guy's a 14. Sorry, 1 second. I was on the wrong one there. So that guy's a 19. This guy's a 12. That guy's a 6 now. So let's just take the guy who's 19, and we're probably not going to get a better one here. Let's just double check just to make sure he's a 19. This is the Navarrese company. Yeah. So let's hire the Navarrese company. I could get a bigger one. That'd probably be a safer bet. But it's going to cost me more to hire. 3,000 men. It's going to cost me more to maintain them. And so let's just hire these guys. Now again, mercenaries, they start off at 0 morale, so they kind of want to move them away from an enemy army. We'll let these guys get their morale back, and then we'll march in and attack. Alright, so Sussex been captured. Again, we just want the top level over there. So let's march them towards, I guess, Gloucester. And we'll just keep an eye on things. So St. Albans was captured. Let's move them up to Norfolk. Now again, we're at 100 war score. We can, call for peace right now and he would accept, but we want to capture all this land in England, just the top level, and then all of the land right here. If we have time, so nothing's to stop you from capturing all the holdings. That's what they're called. Nothing's from stopping you from capturing all the holdings in this English area. And also, since Norway holds the English crown, and the English crown is equal to the Norwegian crown, there's kind of, I don't know if it's a bug or a feature, but you can actually capture the top level of all of Norway, and up here, the Shetland Isles and all that, or Orkney and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not, I don't want to be at war forever. And I just don't know the utility of controlling this Norwegian land. I'd rather focus on having all my vassals centralized in one area, and then eventually form kind of the Empire of Britannia. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try to capture the top holdings here, and maybe even the top holdings here if we have enough men, power, and time. And then we'll call it a day. Now, I could attack right now. Maybe I'm hoping he'll get some attrition, but I'm also worried that he might be reinforced. So let's just wait till this guy's morale is topped off, and we'll attack. And we'll cross our fingers. Because Harold, he's pretty powerful too, but hopefully the number of men will be able to overcome that. No, I'm not going to risk destroying the great work. They've really got to turn down the frequency of that event, because it's going to pop up a whole bunch more, and it's a BS event. I mean, how are you supposed to win wars without sieging down territories, you know? So, we'll move these guys on, because again, we just need the top level. Alright, so we captured top level here. So we'll leave these guys to besiege. We'll keep an eye out here on these guys, because they're looking like they're really running low on men. And we will continue. This is going to be kind of a very long war episode, but I think you can kind of see what I'm trying to get at here. Alright, so we captured King Harold. That's great. Now, if this were like the beginning of the war, simply capturing the opposing king is enough to enforce your demands. So we could again end it now, but now we'll keep him in prison for a while. You see here they're starting to send men back to siege stuff. This guy's running out of manpower to siege. He's no longer able to do that. So let's pull him back. And then we'll just move, once we deal with these guys here, we'll move the mercenary army in to siege Suffolk. Oh, what a bummer. So we just lost our ambitious trait. I think it's silly that you just can randomly like lose traits, but that's just me. I guess I would be happy if it was a bad trait that was lost. Alright, so our third son, we have option of making him diligent or ambitious. Let's make him ambitious as well. Again, this doesn't bode well for our future health, but we do want heirs who are good. Now, they're not our primary heirs, so they're going to be pretenders, but hopefully we'll be able to get rid of our primary heir. And I guess let's merge this army together, because they're going to be running real low soon too. And then we'll move this mercenary army up to Suffolk. Looks like we captured this area here. So let's just continue on. At Essex. Alright, so we're in a pretty good position. We're going to keep on with the sieges. We're going to merge this army together, just so they're still effective. And as needed, as Harold drops off more armies, or if we start running out of manpower to siege all this stuff down, we will hire mercenary units. I think like a 2,000 man sized mercenary unit is good. You know, it's not as expensive to keep going, and you know, it won't eat away at our balance too much. Like right now we're losing 12 gold a month, but it's doable. Alright, so we captured the top level there. Let's move this guy to Somerset. We captured the top level here again. We just want all this area here. So we just need the top level, so we'll move him to Warwick. I wish there was more to say, but otherwise I'm just gonna keep repeating myself. So maybe we'll speed things up a little bit, get this whole war done. Oh, look at that. Our second son has become Midas Touch. That's like the best stewardship trait. You'll see here, Midas Touched is +9 stewardship, +2 learning. I really want this guy to be our king here. I know he doesn't have very good diplomacy. He's got like average, military skill. He's got like kind of a low intrigue. But I like this and I like this. Although let's see how our last son does too as well. So it looks like they're besieging lands again. So let's bring them down to Cornwall. And bring these guys back to Somerset. We'll just keep an eye on things here. Alright, so look like that fell. We'll leave this kind of mercenary army here. We're going to go over here and just attack them, just so they don't unsiege this province, and then we'll move back to Lannister, or Lincoln, sorry. So it looks like we captured Ipswich. Let's just march into Worcester, take these guys out. March into Lincoln. So things are slowly coming along here. Should we chase them down now? We'll let them flee. I don't think they'll have enough men to capture. Well, they might if they link up. So let's hunt these guys down. Wonder why it's not showing a battle. That's weird. So we'll go back to Lincoln. Alright, so we're in a pretty good position here. We're just going to monitor the situation. Looks like Warwick fell, so we'll move him up to Durham. Now, just so you know, most wars kind of aren't as tedious in the cleanup process. When they're like a set war goal, like if it's like a holy war or just over like a county or a duchy, usually, you know, once you get to 100 war score or you capture the king, of which we have both, you can just enforce your demands, and it'll tell you, you know, yeah, you get all this land. Let's just show what it looks like. If we offer peace and we choose to enforce demands, it'll give you a tooltip on what will happen here. But you see here, Duke William II takes all occupied territory. So for this particular casus belli, we need to occupy at least the top level of everything. So it's a little tedious. The war's been won for a while, but there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, we can stop, but why would you, you know? I mean, this is basically just free land, so... See if we can afford to speed things up just a little bit. Alright, so this is my daughter. I don't care if she's ambitious, so I'm just going to tell her she must learn on her own. And Worcester and Tintagel fell. Okay, so we're going to move these guys up this way. We'll move this guy here. And we'll move this guy up here to Leeds. And then hopefully by the time they all group up down here in Kent, we'll have captured all of Suffolk and we can just clean them up. Or wherever it may be. Alright, so Bury fell. So now we have full control of these two duchies here. So we're going to be able to grab our mercenary army off here. And let's have them kind of come down here and see what these guys are doing. Yeah, they're going to try to like unsiege this stuff, so... So Gainsborough's caught. Let's move him up to Hull. And let's just slow it down for this battle. Alright, Glastonbury. Alright, so we'll, I guess we'll move this guy up to, like, Yoredale. And our second son, not as good of an education trait, but we'll finally be able to kind of compare all our sons in terms of stats. So our, top level son's 10-9-9-7-7. This one's 8-11-19, 8-10. Yeah, I definitely think I want the second son in charge. So hopefully, well, let's take a look at the English crown here. So far, the Kingdom of England is agnatic elective, and that's really good. I would love to have an elective government. I think we could control it enough that we could get the son that we want on the throne. So hopefully he doesn't change it, or the game doesn't bug out and like change it to something else. But we'll just double check before we enforce peace. And so I'm kind of scanning to make sure they haven't gathered enough men to siege anything of mine. Looks like we're in good shape so far. Other than that, we're just going to keep sieging top levels and try to end this war in a reasonable time frame. So it looks like our court chaplain has died or something. That's a bummer because he was actually really good. And the next guy is only like a 13. But you take what you can get, right? So let's, we don't even have a valid candidate for a court physician. So we'll go into the intrigue menu, and we'll recruit a court physician. And hopefully we'll get a good court physician. Alright, so there's some kind of cunning eunuch. Apparently he's really good, so let's take a look at him. His learning is only 14. Whatever. I don't feel like constantly having to do these missions and waste money. So we've got our court physician now. we'll just wait for this war to continue and taper off here. So we're actually going to take this mercenary army, and we're going to take out this guy in Leicester. Because I don't want him unsieging provinces we've just taken control of. Okay, so that was just the game letting us know that in France, the ruler can imprison people at will. We talked about that in the first episode. Our daughter Constance is sick. Is she the one? No, we really care about Cecilia. Let's call the court physician, hope for the best. Luckily, though, it's not the daughter that's marrying the King of France. And so Yoredale fell. So we'll go up here and capture that last piece. And it looks like we're in good enough shape that we're gonna try to come up here and take this piece of Moray as well as the Duchy of Orkney. I kind of if well, or should we even bother? Yeah, I actually don't really care about Orkney. Let's just talk about the Duchy of Moray. We'll take that. Because I'm not sure if watching me do mop-up all this time is the most thrilling war going on here. It's not the most thrilling stuff to watch here. So this guy's going to Yoredale. We'll wait till he's locked. We'll move our mercenary army in. Alright, let's march up to, well, what do we got here? Looks like we've got an epidemic of consumption. So I'm going to keep my king away personally. Let's just have him come down to, like, let's have him go down here. Let's have him just hang out, like, we'll have him hang out in Jorvik. We'll move our fleet up. And then we're also going to take our this mercenary army, because they're expendable. And we're going to have them actually jump on the boats. And besiege that province for us. That's why these mercenaries get paid so much, because they do the dirty work. Alright, see, this guy, some random courtier becomes shrewd. What a bummer, it wasn't my son's. Also, I keep getting these kind of pop-ups, I think, because I haven't set up a designated court tutor, and I don't want to be bothered with that. If they're not immediate family, I don't care. So let's talk about court tutors. You want a guy who's diligent, patient, and gregarious, if at all possible. And obviously you want him to be of your culture and religion, because when you're tutoring kids, there's a chance you can change their religion and culture. So let's see what we can find here. Let's search by diligent. This guy's diligent and patient. I believe this is our son here. Alright, so we're going to make our son the court tutor. Also, while we're at it, let's make our sons... which ones do we care about? We care about Richard and William. So let's give them some minor titles here. Ones to give the most opinion. So it looks like they all give 5. Well, which ones give the most prestige? Okay, so let's give this one to Richard. So we'll go by name. I guess Richard can't have it because he already has a position, so let's give it to William. So this way, he likes us a little bit more because, you know, he's got a position in court. My other son has a position in court, so they still hate me because we're rivals, but what are you gonna do? And I see here they're getting attrition because they're kind of like not contiguous to land of ours, and it's been a certain amount of days since they've been supplied. So I'm thinking... I don't think they would win an assault, though. So let's just leave them there to slowly siege it down. We may come in with like most of the rest of our armies later. I don't want to be his spy master. Alright, so because of our education our focus, we're getting a little bit better at martial. That's always good. And it looks like we're starting to capture land up here. So I'm almost thinking of just kind of grabbing these remaining guys that I'm not a part of. You see, I'm here because I've got the crown. So I'm not moving my guy up to here where there's consumption, but I am thinking about moving the rest of my armies up here just to rush siege this area, and then we'll talk about maybe taking, you know, this duchy here, Orkney. Okay, so our daughter, Cecilia, can finally marry the King of France. We're absolutely going to do this. And Constance needs an education focus. Let's give her a learning education. Wonderful. So now it's official. I mean, he could still get rid of my daughter by divorcing her or killing her, but you know, they're both young, and so I imagine this non-aggression pact is going to last for a while. And again, you can just double check by checking pacts, and you'll see there's a non-aggression pact. This is also to our advantage because even though the war's almost over, when we become England, suddenly he's going to be pissy because we're of equal rank than him. but we're the King of England and we own land in France that's rightfully de jure part of France. But since we have the non-aggression pact, unless he divorces or kills my daughter, he's not going to be able to attack me for a while. So that'll give me a time to, resettle and prepare myself, for the next king. So let's just move them in here, and we'll just rush siege it here. And now that we've got the top level of everything here in England, we're going to grab our fleet here. We're going to land them. We're going to grab our remaining army here. You see how much we lost. I mean, we've already lost, we've lost more than half of our men just from these battles and attrition. Alright. So we're going to drop these men off. And again, the reason why I'm keeping my king away is because there's a plague here. I don't want my king to be infected and possibly die. Let's grab it. And again, we only care about the top county, so we're going to move off of here, and then we're going to try to attack here as quickly as possible. And we'll kind of march up this way. I don't know what this army is doing here. He's trying to re-raise. So we'll just keep an eye out on this stuff. As soon as possible, we're going to assault. Hopefully we'll get lucky. If we're unsuccessful, we'll just sue for peace. Alright, we were successful. So let's bring our fleet in here. Let's load them up. Let's see if we can't get this Duchy of Orkney as well off of the Norwegians. Alright, so again, we're just kind of going to wait until our morale's all the way up and we're ready to assault. Alright, so we got that. Let's load these guys up again. And we're just going to double check. I think that's the entire duchy. Yes, so we'll get this last piece of Orkney, and then we'll call it a war. Looks like he's trying to siege this area down. I think we've got this. Hopefully our king doesn't die this late in the game. And we'll just wait for full morale. And it looks like they decided to attack. Alright, I think we've got everything that we want. Before things get out of hand, let's just make peace. So we're going to click here. Again, we do have, another, including the mercenaries, we have around 4,500 men. So we could continue sieging down here to take direct control of more holdings. We also could, start doing the top level of all of Norway. But it seems like an overkill, and I think you've seen enough of this one single war. And so we can talk about something else. So I'm going to click on them. I'm going to offer peace. I'm going to enforce demands. And we're going to send yes. Great. So as you can see here, because we captured this stuff, that became a part of our realm. And we got all of England, and now this is a part of England because we have an equal title to that of the King of France. So now we're equals. Probably not in the King of France's estimation, but you know, rules are rules. Okay, so now you're going to see some things here. You're going to see here, luckily we didn't have to burn through a lot of money, right? So that's good. We got a bunch of prestige from all those battles and stuff. It's only going to keep getting higher as we start handing out titles. Not much in the way of piety. And now our demand size is 119 out of 6. So we're going to have to start distributing land. And that's going to create vassals. And then we're going to use the money we have to create more ducal titles. And ducal titles, I should say. And then we'll kind of organize our realm. But I think that it's been like an hour and a half, so I'm going to end this stream, and I'm going to take a break, and then maybe I'll come back and do another one. Otherwise, I will do one again tomorrow. So this is a good spot. This is a good area to stop. In the next episode, we'll talk about how to distribute titles, and how to keep your vassals, weak enough that they don't really threaten you. We're also going to talk about how to manage succession. And actually, let's take a look at our laws here. The royal laws of England are somehow primogeniture. I think it's a bug. I think it goes like straight from elective to primogeniture. So we're going to have to do something about our succession. But that's for the next episode. So if you've been watching, I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll talk about, getting rid of 114 counties in the next one, and kind of we'll do some home management. We'll get everything in order so that then we can just regrow our troops and plan our next conquests and plan a safe succession with a good king. I'm Lurking Lately. I hope you had a good time, and oh, no problem, man. If you look in my profile below the stream, you'll see like episode 1. I also did one for EU4, although it was my first run, so I don't think I did as good of a job. But check it out. Thanks for lurking. Again, if I have a second stream, I'd love for you to hang out. If you have any questions, let me know. Oh, awesome. So I'm going to end this here. I'm going to take a break. And if I'm not back on today, I am going to make another episode tomorrow. I'm Lurking Lately. Have yourself a great evening.